Hi, I'm Mayor Bob Buckhorn, and welcome to another Mayor's Hour. Jack and I have made a habit of celebrating some of the amazing technological advances that are taking place in this community, and some things that you will probably never get a chance to see the inside of, but we want to take you inside and show you some of the really cool stuff that is happening in this community, Jack.
This place, CAMLS, is one of a kind, literally, anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, and they're just beginning to share their technology with the rest of the world. But it is such an incredible asset for Tampa and for downtown Tampa, and I think it's going to spur a lot of growth here. But the people that it's going to bring to our city is just amazing. Some of the greatest physicians in the world, some of the greatest people in the medical industry in the world. And again, it's a technology that's going to be spreading, emanating, if you will, from right here.
Yeah, it's not what you're thinking of, that horse-like creature with a hump. That is not CAMLS.
No, I forgot
that may
about
be
that.
a camel, but we are at CAMLS. It is a USF research facility right here in the heart of downtown Tampa. Jack, you and I have been bragging about this for a year and a half, and we're going to get a chance to show the public exactly what takes place here. Groundbreaking research, groundbreaking training of doctors and surgeons from all over the world on simulation and robotics. And when that happens, Jack, that means that there's going to be thousands of room nights as these doctors and surgeons come from all over the world to train right here at a USF facility in downtown Tampa. I love it. I absolutely love this place.
And already talk about further development near here as developers look at this and say, hey, we want to get in on the action, and talking about building hotels and retail complexes and things like that right next door.
Yep. Stay with us. You'll be in on the action in just a minute. We're going to meet with Dr. Deborah Sutherland, who runs this place. So stay with us, and you're going to get to see a really cool tour. Johnny, you're making me proud. That's a good thing. Let's fight to the death, all right? All right. 2, 3. Rapids will fully inflate and you're ready to enter the water. Welcome back to the Mayor's Hour, Jack. As we talked about, we are here at the CAMLS facility in downtown Tampa, and one of, I think, the most exciting projects that we've accomplished in the last decade, and one that will have impact for decades beyond this. And joining us today is Dr. Deborah Sutherland. Dr. Sutherland, it's good to have you on the Mayor's Hour.
Thank you for the invitation. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, this place, we've talked about groundbreaking, but the first of its kind in the world. That is such a remarkable achievement that it's a big breakthrough in medicine, from what I understand, that you no longer have to work on corpses or living people or things like that, but like they've done for years in airplanes, you got simulators.
Absolutely. CAMLS is a leader in shifting the entire educational paradigm from an apprenticeship model, see one, do one, teach one, to a simulation or performance-based model where you are absolutely correct. With simulation, you are able to practice and have what we call deliberate practice and repetition until you get something correct. So it may take you 5 tries, it may take me 10, but before you leave CAMLS, we can assure that you are proficient in whatever procedure or team training you have come here to learn.
Now, Dr. Sutherland, for our viewers, explain what simulation means in a medical context.
So simulation for us, when we talk about that, we talk about developing a scenario that replicates real practice in the clinical setting. So that could be a procedure, it could be an entire protocol, it could be team training. But what you learn here is absolutely reflective of what you are going to need when you perform in practice in the clinical situation.
Getting around to the genesis of this, how we were able to score this for our community, how USF was able to bring this about, because I'm sure there were a lot of places that would have loved to have had CAMLS to have this beginning, something as groundbreaking as this. How did it come about here? How are we so lucky to get it?
You know, CAMLS has many partners and many folks involved in the development of the concept. So we worked with the university leaders, with the medical school leaders, with our colleagues nationally to identify what would it take to shift this educational paradigm. Then we worked with the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County to figure out what does that mean in terms of a facility that would allow us to deliver that type of education. So it was our leadership from the university in conjunction with the leadership for Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa that was able to pull all of this and make this happen.
Well, and to my predecessor's credit, Mayor Iorio, she was the one that initially engaged in that conversation with USF and structured the deal so that they could buy city-owned property here. So,
Yeah.
you know, she's the one that really, from the city side, got the ball rolling.
She did, and because of Mayor Iorio, this is not in Orlando, it's in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, and that is terrific, and things are shifting in this direction, not just here, but in so many fronts. But beyond that, I understand you all are about to deliver this kind of technology to the rest of the world.
Correct. So we are completing a feasibility study in the country of Panama. That will be wrapped up in the next week, and then we'll move to the design build phase in that country. And we are getting ready to undertake 2 feasibility studies in the country of Brazil, one in Brasilia, one in Sao Paulo.
And in the meantime, this is where, I guess, medical people from all over the country are coming.
From the world.
And yeah, from all over the world, coming to this, again, to take advantage of this great technology. And that's the amazing thing, that we're just drawing these kinds of people from all over the world that are coming here.
It is, and CAMLS also is an economic driver for the city of Tampa.
Yes.
The mayor and I discuss this on a regular basis. So we've just wrapped up our first fiscal year of operation. So for this community, that meant almost 14,000 new room nights, 16,000 new visitors to downtown Tampa, discretionary spending of $2.5 million, and this is while we're in a startup phase. So CAMLS is exactly where we predicted it would be after year 1 of operation. So we're delighted with what this brings to the airport, the local hotels, and the local restaurants and economy.
Dr. Southern, we've got about a minute left in this segment. Tell us where we are right now, this hybrid operating room.
This is what we call a hybrid OR. This is a state-of-the-art operating suite that allows hospitals and teams to go from an interventional procedure to an open procedure without moving the patient. So if you come in for a stent or a cardiac cath and something happens during that procedure that doesn't allow that to progress as expected, and you need to have an immediate open procedure or a valve replacement, the teams change. The patient stays in the room, stays in this theater, and immediately goes from an interventional procedure to a fully open or minimally invasive procedure. So it saves lives. It prevents huge complications that could create ongoing issues for the patient. So this is a huge movement in terms of improving patient outcomes and reducing the opportunity for error.
So that's something, I guess, that can be done in hospitals all over the country ultimately.
If they have a suite like this, and this is the trend that you are seeing hospitals, many of the hospitals in the Tampa Bay region have hybrid ORs. So when they install a hybrid OR, the teams often come here for training. Because when you look at the complexity of this room, this is a room where the choreography is different than what you would find in a typical OR suite. We have full fluoroscopy capability here. We have all of these screens that are hooked to different types of monitors and for different types of applications. So the teams need to learn how to position themselves and operate together in a room like this.
Stay with us. We're going to go visit with Dr. Stuart Hart in one of the virtual patient training centers, care centers.
Yes.
And you're going to get to see some really neat stuff. Dr. Sutherland, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good work.
Great
Congratulations on your first birthday.
Thanks.
Because my 20th birthday is coming up in about a week, so stay with us. We'll be right back. Jack, welcome back. We have on this table here a former mayor. This is what happens after 8 years in office as you end up here.
Well, you're still looking pretty good here.
I did. I was a little, I had my bones up there before, which didn't look so good. But we are with some of the folks that make things happen around here. Dr. Stuart Hart, who is one of my wife's colleagues, an assistant professor of obstetrics and gynecology. It took me about 12 years of marriage to be able to say that. And Maria Simos, who is a chemical engineer who is involved in a lot of the technology here. Guys, tell us what we got here.
So this is really amazing, and this is the future of how we're going to train physicians. So in the past, when we gave an anatomy lecture, the professor would stand up and show slides, but now it's all interactive. And the future in terms of medical training is hands-on, and you can't get more hands-on than this. And this is a high-resolution screen with just really beautiful anatomy that you can zip in and out of anatomy, and the learners that come in can actually get their hands on and go layer by layer through anatomy, find the anatomy of interest, and learn the proper anatomic structures, the relationships, but also learn how to perform surgery on this table.
Yeah, this is the very latest in technology. I remember not too many years ago, if you went into any kind of medical learning situation, you always saw that skeleton hanging there, just an old plastic skeleton hanging there. And now you look at this is a skeleton, it's a fully muscular body, it's a fully, whatever you want it to be, you can make it here, which is pretty incredible because as we were setting up, we were just watching people messing around with it here. And that technology, that change is incredible, given that you're going so far past just working with that skeleton figure, that plastic skeleton.
The skeleton and cadavers, in the past when you're doing a cadaver lab, you're restricted by what layers you're dissecting. Here we're not restricted anymore with technology. We can very quickly zoom in and out of different tissue layers and find the area of interest without spending hours in a cadaver lab.
Well, give us a demonstration of how this would work. If I were a student, a young medical student, and I came in here and you wanted to talk to me about the heart, I mean, what would you have me do?
So what we would do is we would zoom into the area of interest. So we could actually adjust and zoom in to what we're going to actually demonstrate today, and then we can go layer by layer and actually go down to the heart, and we're going to demonstrate that. What's so amazing is not only is this a good tool for teaching, but we can actually take CT scans and MRIs and put them into this machine here.
You mean real ones?
Real ones. And so now we can take a real patient's anatomy and actually put the anatomy here on the screen and then go in and out, and we can use this for rehearsal studio prior to surgery.
So all the speeches you've heard me give where I talk about putting up the MRI the day before the surgery up on the screen, this is it?
This is a step in that direction.
I wasn't making that stuff up.
No, you're not making it up, I
go.
promise. But that's where we're heading in medicine. And on top of that, now we can actually take real patient anatomy and develop medical devices around that real patient anatomy. And that's some of what we do here in CAMLS. And you'll see in TBRIC, in the Tampa Bay Research Innovation Center, we'll be using this technology to come up with the next generation of medical devices and medical technologies.
I was just
And we
thinking.
can bring in the medical device as well into the image and show how it relates to the anatomy.
So you, rather than using real devices, use simulated
We can
devices as well.
Design a device and actually bring it into the table and see how it relates to the anatomy.
So you would introduce a medical device, a simulated medical device in here, and you could actually like probe the heart or do something with it to see how it reacts?
See how it looks in relative to the anatomy. So if you wanted to put either a stent inside, you can see how it looks with the patient's anatomy.
And again, this is people learning, and then they go out and do it in real life on real people, but they've seen exactly what it's going to look like, what it's going to be like. They've simulated the act before, and so better than practicing on real people.
A lot better, and that's really the future of medical education, is coming to a center like this and practicing before you go in. I mean, the old paradigm, if you see one, do one, teach one, really doesn't hold up anymore. So now we can actually come in and practice on a simulated environment, then the surgeons go back in and they're proficient at that point to do the procedure.
I wasn't aware that you used real people, that you could take somebody who is about to be operated on or who needs a procedure and then have their body here and go through the motion on a simulator and then actually do it on the person. That seems like quite a breakthrough.
It is. And these are the new technologies. So we can take that image, put it on here, and let's say it's a tumor that you're operating on. You can zip in and out just with using 2 fingers, going in and out, find where that tumor is, rotate it around, find the surrounding anatomy, and then plan your surgery.
We were talking to one of the technicians about this. This could be the consummate video game.
Right.
And we've come up with a name for it, Angry Bones.
How much simulation training does a medical student get?
So they get a variety of simulation training. Here at USF, they come to CAMLS quite often. They, depending on the rotation they're on, they may come and practice laparoscopic suturing, they may come in and we do different types of courses for a variety of different procedures that they may run into when they're on their clinical rotation. So it really depends what rotation they're on, but they spend quite a bit of time here at CAMLS training.
In all of the rooms down the hallway that the viewers can't see, there's probably a dozen different surgical suites, if you will. What are those specialties like neonatal or OBGYN?
The way the center is designed, they can be turned into any type of suite. So we have rooms that can simulate an ICU setting, a labor and delivery setting. It could be an emergency room setting. But we have other rooms that simulate an outpatient experience when you go to your physician. What it's like when you're sitting there on the table and the doctor has to come in and interact with a patient in their office. So we can simulate just about any type of healthcare environment here at CAMLS.
Yeah, when we were walking down the hall, we saw all these mannequins in there, baby mannequins, adult mannequins, women mannequins, men mannequins, and everything. It was kind of bizarre as you walk down the hall. I mean, it's almost like a simulated hospital.
Well, that's what it is. We want to simulate the real life experience of the physician. You know, too many times a physician will go someplace and it's not the true environment, and they get trained, but it's not. They're not submerged in that environment. But the key to really good training is to get submerged in that environment. So when you go back to the hospital, you feel that you just trained in that type of environment, and it's much more natural.
One of the most amazing things, we had Senator McCain here about a year ago, and they have a whole suite set up that is a battlefield simulation.
Ooh, yeah.
Where with all the sounds, and I guess you lower the temperature, so it feels like you're in the desert. And they have a mannequin on there that you know, with an amputated leg and the blood spurting out. I mean, it is as close to a battlefield ER as you can find, and McCain was fascinated by it. Fascinated.
Yeah, how did this kind of thing come about? I mean, who said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to create all of this and do it through video and do it through technology today instead of real people. I mean, at some point, somebody had a great idea here.
You know, absolutely, and this is where we're heading as a field of medicine. Well, again, we have to get away from the old paradigm of you've never operated and you go in and you're supposed to learn it on a patient, and the next time it's you by yourself. So in all of healthcare, we're going to these simulated environments, just like the airline industry did 15, 20 years ago. You don't want a pilot going on a plane who's only flown that plane one time. So now they go through intense simulation.
We just saw what happens then
Right.
in that circumstance, sadly.
That's what we don't want,
Yeah.
right? So we want doctors and really all members of the healthcare community to come to centers like this and get intensive hands-on training, so when they go back, they demonstrate proficiency before they operate on patients.
And as we talked about earlier, they're coming from all over the world here to participate in the simulation, and I guess this is really an incredible boon for our USF medical students. And UF, if they want to drive down the road a piece, and Tallahassee or anybody.
University.
Yeah, yes, indeed. But
Well, I've never felt the need to go to the doctor because I get probed every day by the media. I mean, so there's no point in me, I don't need an examination. I get an examination. Just run for office. You're going to get an examination.
he gets to keep his clothes on.
Yeah, so,
Most politicians do. Some don't,
Yeah,
but
these
most
days
of
there's
them
a
do.
few that
Well, if you bring your CT scan, we'll put it on here and we can.
I would not want to look at my
probe you here.
insides. All the rubber chicken that I've eaten over 25 years is not going to be a good thing.
But yeah, the amazing thing is to see this go from the muscular to, when we first walked in here, it was just a skeleton. And then you guys manipulated it around with your fingers, and all of a sudden it becomes a fully muscular skeleton. And here we go, we're turning it right now. It's turning on its axis.
As Mario changes it, then the various parts that we are now looking at change as well. So I would imagine if you flipped it all the way over, all of these data points would be totally different based on the parts of the body. I mean, look at that, that's amazing.
Right, it's constantly 3D rendering. What's even more amazing is we can actually make cuts, and you can see there's actually a cut right down the middle. So we can cut into any area, which you could never do in the past in terms of training, and now we can rotate it around that cut very quickly. So we can get into very small areas and details of anatomy that would be very challenging in any other way.
That particular one, if you're able to see it, looks like a big slab you might find at Malio's.
Yeah, barbecue, yeah.
The beauty with this as well is we can take the MRI image and actually bring it into a 3D printer and actually produce the actual model. So the surgeon can actually practice on the model before the actual patient as well.
On a 3D printer.
Yes.
So you can do a 3D image of his internal organs?
Yes.
No, thank you.
They're my
Be a lot of
aged,
beer in there.
aged organs, you know, they are.
It would be like the
That way.
stomach of a whale. There'd be like beer cans in there. There'd be all kinds of clutter.
No doubt. But
Yeah, as you can see, this is not 60 Minutes. This is Mayor's Hour. This is really fascinating stuff. Stay with us. We're going to go to TBRIC. Now, Dr. Hart, tell us what TBRIC stands for.
So TBRIC stands for the Tampa Bay Research and Innovation Center, and it's a very unique center. It's one of the most unique centers in the country, especially within a university setting where we bring healthcare professionals together with engineers and business leaders. And when you bring all the key players in the medical technology, medical device arena into one area, it's amazing what you come up with. The technologies we develop and the medical devices that we develop here at CAMLS, at USF in Tampa, it really is going to change the way we practice medicine, change how we do surgical procedures, and make surgery and medicine safer for those patients that
that's so
need
great that it's
procedures.
emanating from right here
All
in
right here.
our little neck of the woods.
Right here.
CAMLS, USF, TBRIC. Back in a minute. Welcome back. We are in the engineering lab of TBRIC. Where are we? This is like something from outer space. Dr. Hart, tell us what you guys do here. And what is this I'm holding?
So this is a model. These are some of the high-tech capabilities that we have here in the Tampa Bay Research Innovation Center. What we can do, and again, it's taking the healthcare providers and getting them together with the engineers and the business leaders is where you really come up with amazing concepts. But this is a great example of the collaborative work between medicine and engineering, where we actually took a patient's real anatomy, the patient's MRI scan, and we manually segmented it on the computer using modeling, and we actually printed, this is the patient's real knee.
Wait, he said printed.
Yeah, 3D
Printed.
printing.
This is a 3D printer, just like you would print at home. You would hit a button and you get whatever you wanted on that piece of paper. We now can print in 3D space.
And what kind of material is that's printed on?
It's a liquid resin that uses a UV light to cure it. So it goes layer by layer and builds it up. Now, the added benefit of what we can do here is if you see in the back, we can change the actual durometer of the material, so we can make it softer to resemble ligaments and the meniscus and also the bone structure as well.
Folks, understand what Dr. Hart just said. They printed this.
Yep.
This is not someone's knee. This is taken from an MRI, and the technology here allows them to literally print a copy of that person's knee. Is that what it was?
Correct.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. and
Pretty cool.
Going from just a flat piece of paper to something like that, the 3D printer, which is fairly new technology over just the past couple of years, isn't it?
I mean,
It is.
Jack used to sit on the copy machine for a thrill.
And imagine that with a 3D. We don't need a 3D printer for that.
Maybe we shouldn't think about that.
No,
But
it's not.
how long does it take to print something like that, something as complex as that?
This actually took about 4 hours to do.
But again, you don't have to have the patient. You don't even think about doing it on the two-dimensional level. You've got the three-dimensional level to work with, and you're simulating it all.
And not only does it print, but it prints in multiple materials. And Mario was talking about the capability here is we can print a solid bone, but the ligaments are soft, just like ligaments. We can choose the durometer or the consistency of the material. So this actually feels just like a ligament.
Well, I've got a challenge for you too. I just happen to have this with me. Can you guys print a copy of this, the key to the city? Yep, this is a key to the city.
Wow, he has to use it to get in every morning.
It opens no banks, and there's no money when you get there, trust me. Can you guys replicate this?
Yes, actually we can. We can take this and we can reverse engineer it using our CAD software. We can just look at this, redesign it in 3D space, and have it one printed for you.
All right, let me see you do it.
Alrighty. So first what we'll actually do is take the measurements of this and bring it into the CAD software, and we'll show
Now,
you in the
CAD, for
computer.
our viewers' sake, what is a CAD? What's it stand for?
Computer-aided design.
Computer-aided design, okay.
And we use exclusively SolidWorks here,
Right.
which is one of the big vendors
Right.
for CAD software.
That's great. Now, do you have vendors that participate in this lab in hopes of demonstrating their products to the doctors and surgeons that will come here and train? I mean, is that part of the equation here, is to get the the business community here and demonstrating their products, and they benefit, you benefit?
Absolutely, both up here and throughout all of CAMLS. Downstairs in our surgical training center, you'll see we work with small companies, large companies, and international companies. We work with companies from all over the world. A typical example is when we went to Israel a couple years ago.
Dr. Hart and I traveled to Israel to talk to some of the medical manufacturers, the simulation and robotics folks, about what was taking place here, because all of their equipment is here. Tell the folks why that's important.
Well, that's so important because in order to take an idea and actually make it usable for patients, it has to be sold. It has to be commercialized. So we can't do that in an empty box. We have to work with industry to take the ideas here and actually produce them, commercialize them, so they can be in hospitals and they can be in outpatient centers and help patients. And that's really our goal, is to be an interface between what we do here and what gets out and is actually used on patients.
So we've talked earlier about all of the medical people, I mean doctors and people in the medical profession that are going to be coming to town to learn on these simulators. This is an entirely different group of people that this is going to involve, right?
Exactly.
I mean, these are innovators. These are people who are going to come here so they can get involved in developing the kind of technology or developing the kind of tools that are going to be used by doctors and these medical professionals that come.
Well, both. We want those experts and even those novices that come here not only to train and become a better physician while they're here or a healthcare provider, but then we want them to come here and give us their ideas and work with them so we can take the ideas. I mean, these are the physicians and the healthcare providers on the front lines. Every day they're seeing patients, they're performing surgery, they're taking care of patients in an ICU setting or other settings. We want them to give us those ideas so we can develop them and improve healthcare. And a typical example would be when we went to Israel, we actually here at USF with Symbionix in Israel built the world's first high-fidelity laparoscopic hysterectomy simulator. That was a combined project, and it was a BIRD grant that we received to do it, and that particular simulator is being used worldwide for training.
Now, what kind of a simulator is it for the layperson? What does it do?
So it's just like the aviation industry again, where a pilot will go into a truly simulated environment in 3D space and they fly a plane. We're doing the exact same thing with computers, and we're submersing a physician into a surgical space.
Is that what you put me in?
That's exactly what I put you in. So,
It did not end well.
right.
A lot of blood.
We had you perform a
Yeah.
gynecologic procedure.
Yeah,
but
that patient didn't do so well.
But it's really changing the way that we practice medicine. So now what came out of here is actually affecting the way surgeons, and in this particular space, pelvic surgeons train worldwide. They're actually using that simulator to become a better surgeon, and it came out of here.
Yeah, and just seeing that one thing, that knee joint, I mean, the amazing things that you can do with that, and how that was developed with the use of the 3D printing technology now. It's just remarkable. So what would you be able to do with this? Let's say this was a mock-up of somebody's knee who's having knee problems, an athlete, an ex-athlete or something like that. What would happen from this point?
Well, we could use it to actually affect clinical care, clinical management. We could print it and take a look at where the deficiencies are and plan surgery around it. We could use it for research. We could print it and use it to develop better tools, better devices on the market, and even use it to look at various engineering aspects of the knee joint.
So, Dr. Hart, let's just say there was a tear in here. Would that tear show up in the printing of this?
As long as it's on the MRI image, and as we do the segmentation, we identify and put it on there, absolutely it will show up.
Wow.
The whole same thing.
And we can make it transparent as well, so we actually see more in
So you
depth.
could see through it
Yep.
based
Exactly.
on the material that you would use,
Yes.
whether it was translucent. I could use a few new knees.
That's the future.
Yeah.
Potentially printing parts like a knee.
Yeah, you're one of those people, one of those jocks out there,
Yeah,
weekend
old,
jocks.
Old jock.
Weekend jock.
All right, stay with us. We're going to be working on, I think, the CAD machine. Is that where we're going, Si? And printing a new key to the city. Don't think it gets you anywhere, guys. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. I want to show you something. This is a baby's head. And as you can see, as they zoom in here, you can actually see the brain inside the head. This was an MRI that they printed here at this facility that truly is the child's head. I mean, it is amazing the technology that could produce this. Can I take this home, use it as a paperweight? I mean, this is pretty, I could scare my kids with this one.
Baby's head is.
Well, yeah, that would be a little much, wouldn't it? But this is the kind of stuff that's going on here. Mario, show us what these machines are and
Sure.
how they do something like this.
Well, taking the challenge that you gave me earlier, you had asked me to create a key to the city. So what we were able to do is go into our CAD software and create a new reverse engineer model of this and bring it into the software here. And what you can see here, the 3D image and the 3D representation of your key. So now, what this allows us to do is select the different materials by going through and selecting the different features, or on the outer edge, we can change the material to either be an ABS plastic, we can make it translucent, we can make it flexible. All the whatever needs of the particular model, we can do that way.
And you can write whatever you want there? Like you could write Jack Harris on there?
I could, yes. So what we have here is we have CAMLS written on there for
Okay.
you. So
And you know, the amazing thing, looking at the screen, it looks like the one you've got at home.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing you're
It's the
working with.
same thing.
So the materials we can select from is what you see here. So the one that I was going to recommend that we use is an ABS plastic. I'm assuming green would be okay for you.
Sure.
So let's use that and we'll have you print this for us.
All right, let's go.
So what I'd like you to do is kind of look over this real quick, make sure there's no other changes
Okay.
that you'd like to do.
All right. It says CAMLS, not the city of St. Petersburg, right?
It does.
Okay, just checking. Just checking.
So with this all being ready, we'll have you kind of go over here and press play,
All right.
which is right there.
Move this baby out of the way.
Move this baby out of the way, literally.
So what this allows us to do is it's going to go layer by layer and imprint this key starting from the 0 position all the way up so it's completely done.
So that's what this machine right here does.
Exactly.
Let's walk over here and take a look at this.
This key itself will allow us, it will be printed in about 2 hours or so.
So where, if you had an MRI and you wanted to print, where would you put the MRI? Would it be up on that screen?
The MRI would go onto that screen.
Okay.
We would segment it and bring it into, create a 3D model with all the segmentations. Take that model and bring it into the software here and then actually have it print. So it creates what's called an STL file, which is a language that this printer actually uses.
And then the machine will continue to layer on the
Exactly.
acrylic or whatever it is until it builds out
Exactly.
what the MRI says.
And in one moment here, it should go back and forth. And what it does is it's going to drop the tray down about every 16th of a micron for each layer.
And it's almost like painting. It just goes over
Exactly.
back and forth.
And it doesn't matter the complex, the shape, it'll go to that feature.
I was just telling Mindy and them, we talked about this on the radio 3-4 months ago, and I was trying to visualize how this worked, and I thought it was a very simplistic thing. I mean, I knew it was obviously a complex operation, but I thought it only did tiny, simple things like maybe do a ball or something like that. I wasn't aware that it did such complex things as a baby's head with a brain intact and the knee joint and things like that. This is just unbelievable.
Mario, tell us, I mean, going back to that child's head, how does it do the brain inside the head? I mean, it's just purely what it sees from the MRI and all?
In the MRI, we would segment each portion of the brain. You have the skull, you have the brain, you have the various tissues. Now in the software we have here with the printer, we're able to select those different features and assign a material to them. So we can make it translucent so you can see right through it.
So can we get busts of Jack and I, of our heads?
Sure.
Because we've got places on the Riverwalk that we would like to put our own busts, you know. We'll be out there in the middle of the night building our own statues of ourselves. That would go over real well, Jack.
Mayor, it's not good to say, we want the mayor's head for this.
So as you can see here, it's going layer by layer depositing the material. And then after about 2 hours, we'll have a fully functional key. And as if I can show you here, after 2 hours, we have the key.
Wow.
So this is what it looks like. And this is amazing. I mean, this is no different, except that is gold. Don't let me drop it on the glass. This is what this machine produced from this. It is absolutely amazing. The only difference is this one says CAMLS, and this one has the City of Tampa's logo on it. But it's an exact replica. It's unbelievable.
It is.
And we can plate that to actually give it that gold finish.
Well, in these tough economic times, I think I need the plastic version.
They give those
These are pretty
away.
expensive.
And how long was that? 4 hours?
It took 2 hours to make that.
Yeah.
And we have the technology here to reverse engineer this. We can use a laser scanning arm to kind of scan this key and actually recreate it in 3D space.
Wow. Yeah, that's unbelievable. And again, just hearing about them, reading about them as a news story, and actually seeing it in operation here. And this is, I guess, critical to some of the things that are going on now at CAMLS. I mean, when the idea of CAMLS and when the concept of simulation being done here actually came up and you all began to develop it, or they began to develop it here, this wasn't even part of that, was it? I mean, we didn't have 3D printers back then, did we?
Right, you're exactly right. We had it, it was a thought, and after things progressed, we decided a 3D printer would be the best option for designing custom simulators, new medical devices, and different research opportunities we can do.
Yeah, that's what's amazing, that this sort of plays in so well with the whole idea, the whole concept behind CAMLS and behind the medical simulation and everything.
It's a one-stop shop for a medical device company.
Oh, it is. So it really is, and I'm trying to get that dynamic down here about how CAMLS, people tend to think doctors and everybody coming in, but this place is going to be a place for medical innovation way beyond just doctors learning how to simulate operations on patients or how to simulate working with war wounds or whatever it is. It's a place where, I mean, it's a twofold thing where innovators are going to come in here and say, let's try this and let's do that. And hey, here, this works. We can send this out all over the country.
Well, and eventually creating products, which will create companies, which will create jobs, which will all be centered around the CAMLS, a USF facility in downtown Tampa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a printer. Don't try this at home. All right? Don't put your kid's head on the printer. It's not going to work. Stay with us. You're going to see me do some surgery, simulated, fortunately.
Oh.
And I can promise you,
seniors, please don't be watching this.
there
Could
will
get
be
nasty.
blood. Thanks. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are about to perform major surgery. That would be you too. This is going to be really cool. As you can see, we're dressed for the occasion. I got one up on my wife now, so honey, I can do this too, without the medical school training. So Dr. Hart is going to show us exactly what it is that we're doing here. He's got some simulated skin.
This is artificial skin.
Artificial skin.
So we created this here in T-Break. One of the benefits of having a fully functional engineering center within CAMLS is we can recreate any type of environment. So what we did here, and this is in our engineering lab, we actually created an operating room environment where we have surgeons that come in and do validation studies on devices that are on the market or may soon be on the market to ensure safety of these devices. We do quite a few usability validation type studies here in T-Break within CAMLS. So in order to do some of these studies, especially on minimally invasive surgery, we had to create a surgical simulator. So Mario went out with his engineering expertise and actually created artificial skin. In fact, we borrowed this from Hollywood. This is what's used in Hollywood movies to create monsters. And they use this type of material, but we created it for a surgical simulated environment.
And it feels like kind of icky like skin.
It feels just like skin. In fact, what we did was we created this simulator here where we prepped and gowned the patient just like they would be typically draped in surgery, but then the skin, which feels like real skin, is on top. So it really creates that environment. And when surgeons come in, again, we want to submersive in the environment. We actually have them gown up just like you are, so they feel like they're in surgery when they actually do these studies. So we want it to be as realistic as possible when they're here at CAMLS.
So what we have here is a simulated person.
Exactly.
I can promise you this will not be minimally invasive. This is going to be maximally, seriously invasive. So, Dr. Hart, all right. Mario, you're controlling this.
Yeah.
These are the scissors. Now, the expectation is that I'm going to actually cut something here.
So that's a tumor. This tissue feels like real tissue in the body, and we're going to simulate you doing a minimally invasive surgery, or laparoscopic surgery, where with your left hand you're going to control the grasper, and your right hand you're going to control the cutting instrument, which in this case is a laparoscopic shears, and you're going to cut around the circle just like you would to remove a tumor.
All right. How about if I just cut right through the circle?
You can.
Oh, here we go
There you
again.
go.
There
So
I go. I'm off
take
in.
it, yeah, open and cut right into it. Exactly. and cut a little bit deeper, and then we're going to have you work your way around. Now you can see some of the challenges we run into during laparoscopic surgery.
Yeah, Mario's in my way.
So now's a great time to exert being a surgeon, and you can.
I can yell at
tell them to
somebody.
move out of the way.
I need an instrument to throw.
That's right. Oh, we have plenty. We can give you some. But we're recreating the surgical environment. So in surgery, one of the challenges of laparoscopic surgery is the surgeon is operating in three-dimensional space, yet the surgeon is watching it on two-dimensional space.
I'm almost better off doing it this
So
way.
it becomes very challenging to take what we're used to in 3D and convert it to 2D, but still continue to operate in 3D. And this is why a center like CAMLS really can redefine how we train surgeons, because we can simulate these environments and make surgeons much safer and more efficient.
Yeah, now this is different than, well, it is simulating, obviously, but I'm thinking of those airline simulators, having worked with an airline simulator before and crashed into the Arizona, the Narrows, into a bridge while I was trying to fly a plane, but that aside, this goes a step further where you don't just simulate the picture and everything, you're actually simulating the body and everything else going beyond, because pilots work with just pictures that look like if you're flying over Washington, D.C., and if you make the moves, you come in and out, and it would be the same thing if you're on a plane. But this goes a step beyond, because you're actually working with simulated tissue.
Exactly.
And the cuts and everything.
And it gets very complex because the simulated tissue has to feel realistic, it has to look real.
Yeah.
So it's not just creating the tissue itself, but actually going into the tissue and creating characteristics that are that replicate what we feel in surgery.
Below the tissue and the whole thing.
So this skin is actually very sophisticated. We built this artificial skin in multiple layers.
Yeah.
So the top layer feels like the skin that you would normally feel in a patient, but as you go deeper, it has different levels, and the consistency changes. We actually put pieces of mesh inside to recreate the fascia that surgeons have to go through when they enter inside the abdomen.
I'm going back to medical school. Because I just cut the dickens out of that tumor.
That poor person is just hurting now. Now they got to go get their
Blood
doctor's
everywhere.
work
There's
stitched
trial
up.
lawyers in the lobby. Don't tell my wife. I'll never live this down.
We'll keep this a secret. We'll keep this a
The
secret.
last time Dr. Hart had me doing one, I don't know what I cut, but I cut something and it was bleeding like
all over the
crazy.
place on our computerized simulator.
Yeah.
So again, that's a computerized simulator, which is just like the airline industry.
Yeah.
This is
The real thing,
kind of the real thing with tissue that we actually built here.
Yeah.
So there's a variety of different types of simulators. It's not one particular simulator, but having this engineering center within CAMLS, we can design a variety of different simulators specifically for that procedure or for that particular surgeon.
Again, that's a two-level dynamic here when you're simulating. The one, and we were just talking while you were screwing that patient up awfully bad and messing up that tumor. That person said, "Bring my tumor back."
Yes, that's right. Get this guy out of here.
But that it is on the two levels where you have the two-dimensional, a screen like airline pilots work with, and then actually having skin and the replicated body parts and everything of a person you're working on. That's amazing.
And then it goes a step further, because then we can take this technology and use it for medical device and technology development and validating medical devices to ensure before they're used on a patient that they're actually going to work and they're not going to fail. So we can do all that testing here because we are in a state-of-the-art simulation and engineering center.
With usability testing, we monitor with the camera on the surgeon itself, and we can actually see what the surgeon is seeing on the screen, but also monitor their hands. A lot of times their hands don't correlate with what they see on the
So,
screen.
would there be an instructor here saying, okay, you're moving this too far, you're doing this too bad, or you're, just giving him instructions as he's doing that, as somebody's training on this thing?
Sometimes. Oftentimes what we do is we videotape the surgeon, because it's amazing. They don't realize what they're doing and they're actually operating. They're so concerned with what's happening to the patient that they don't see what else is going on in the operating room. So oftentimes what we do is we videotape from up high, from far away, and we show this to them after, and they're amazed at what they actually did. They were so concentrated on that one particular area of the surgery, they didn't realize what else is going
That's
on.
what happened to me. I was just so focused on getting that tumor and saving that poor woman's life that it just went to hell.
Yeah, in about a week, we'll get you. We'll make you an expert surgeon here.
Yeah, and again, that's the amazing thing. He's working down inside that skin.
Right.
Yeah. Now, Stuart, I was having trouble because my you know, if I'm cutting, I want to be up above it. Now, normally, would you be standing on something, or would the body be lower?
Well, normally the body would be positioned, and a lot of times there is a tilt. So the patient in this particular situation, since we're operating down here, it's tilted backwards. But most of the time, the surgeon's on one side or the other.
Okay.
So not necessarily at the head, but there would be another surgeon or assistant controlling the camera. But most of the time, you're on one side or the other.
Oh, and so you do have somebody else running the camera like we do
Usually. It's all Mario's fault. We take full responsibility.
Bad pictures. It makes you wonder how close we are to actually, you know, you said you got this from Hollywood where they create these creatures and things like that. You wonder how far they are away from here from creating a person. I think you might be closer than some of those sci-fi people.
Gonna be on
Yes,
there.
indeed. Body parts here and the whole thing.
All right.
Wow.
Doc, Mario, thanks for doing some really, really cutting edge stuff and putting Tampa on the map. This is
Thank you.
fascinating. Yeah, I'm sorry, my brother. Yeah, but you're still registered to vote. It's all good. Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work. You're putting Tampa on the map. We will be right back. Jack, we're back. We have with us Eric Eisenhart, who is a recently graduated student from USF in engineering. You saw not only the medical component of this, but you saw where the engineers fit into this formula as well. And Eric is one of those bright young folks that certainly I talk about incessantly in terms of keeping our best and brightest kids here.
STEM and everything.
Yep.
He's a product.
He's a product of it, and you know we want to make Tampa a place where we can attract young people like Eric. And fortunately, at least it seems that we have kept him here, right?
Yep.
Okay, just checking.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's
nice.
a
Yes.
resident.
It's not good to tell the mayor no, so I'm glad you answered correctly.
And again, this is that second dynamic that I've been overwhelmed by today because I thought I knew a lot about CAMLS, and until today I wasn't aware of all the innovation going on here. We knew it was something innovative that was being done with the simulators and teaching people in the medical profession. But again, there's that second level of all the innovation that's going on, which you're a part of because you're not in medicine.
No, I'm not.
So tell us what you do. You're the CAD wizard.
So, well, we started a project 2 years ago in a manufacturing processes class that was for the College of Industrial and Engineering. And so Dr. Hart, he came to our class and he was telling us about a morcellator, which is a product that is used to take out tissue in the body. And so this product, it was actually years old. And so our class already created it, and then our group kept it going for a 2-year, for like a 2-year project, and then we used it in our capstone class. And then we actually brought it to CAMLS because CAMLS wasn't built until about a year ago. And so once we brought it here, we were able to actually combine engineering and then the medicine to make both ends of it, listening to the doctor's voice and then creating this actual product to be used in surgeries to make it safer, more efficient, ergonomic.
So this, just so you can see this started out as a class project.
Yep.
That once he graduated, he brought it here for some real-world application, I guess would be the.
Yes.
And you know, you think about it, this is potentially a piece of equipment that could be commercialized, where you could create a company around it.
Oh, yeah.
And sell it.
Yes.
Which I think is probably the goal of CAMLS.
It didn't look like this from the start. This is actually on its 4th iteration of it. It started out smaller, started out different, and then as it went along, we had to change things and tweak it. And so it's been a process getting to this prototype today, because everything is based off SolidWorks is actually where you create the parts, and then you send it to the lab to be printed.
So this is used to take tissue out?
Yes.
Now, if I had a council member that wasn't voting the right way, could I use this on them? You can say yes, it's
Sure,
okay.
why not?
Yeah, there we go, see? It works.
Yeah.
Only in some body parts. They have no hearts. And so,
This is a kneecap. You know,
gonna
the
be in
Irish are good
trouble.
at taking care of kneecaps. That's fascinating, but you could really take this out and create a whole product around this, a whole product line around this.
Yep.
is that
And
being
that's a
done
proto-
now with this one?
Slowly, yes. And that's a working prototype, so really it looks different in some of the drawings because you have to create it with materials that are available.
The whole commercialization process at USF, where you're taking the research that exists at the university and moving it out to the marketplace, who owns the patent on that? Is it USF? Is it you and your classmates? I mean, how does that work?
It's split up between the group of us, which is myself, two other classmates, Dr. Hart, Mario, and then the university gives us a big slice of it.
Okay, so when this becomes a surgical tool, the profits are split up accordingly?
Yes.
Okay. So you could be a very rich guy pretty soon, huh?
Yes.
There we go. Now we're talking.
And a possibility that you would start
there
a
is a
small
possibility.
company right here, somewhere out in this
Yeah,
this
that is a
area
possibility. Yes.
to manufacture these things. I mean, you can
Absolutely.
go
You
one
better
step
stay here.
further because you've got the patent and everything, obviously, on this. And it's already been patented, right?
It's been filed, yes.
Okay.
great.
So,
And I'm thinking at the patent office, the complexity of this, how do they give you a patent on this? Who figures out that this is a workable thing and, okay, you've got a patent on it?
that's what the office does. That's their job. And like we bring them what's different about it. We have to look at current patents, current devices online, seeing how our device is different because
Probably
you
about
can't
that
patent
much
it.
paperwork.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's been a lot of like research in the background of this device because we wouldn't have ever done it if we didn't think there was a possibility
Yeah.
of it being different and unique.
Well, Eric, this is amazing stuff. I mean, this is exactly what we talk about in terms of, you know, the upwards of $400 million in research that takes place at USF, finding a way to move it from the petri dish out to the marketplace.
Yeah.
This is exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about. And this, like we've said, this young guy here could go out and build a whole company around producing products that emerged out of CAMLS, emerged out of USF.
It's been a fun, unique experience because like we never really thought that it would be where it is today. So like it's just been 2 years of like something amazing that's like come from like hand drawings that we drew in a class to that device.
That's great.
To a
And
patent.
one day he may be cutting a ribbon out here.
Yeah, for the new
company.
company. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Eric. Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Yep.
We're proud
Thank
of you.
you.
Yep.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Welcome back. We are in one of the labs with something different than what we talked about earlier. It's not just USF intellectual property that is displayed here and worked on here. We also have outside companies that come here to use this facilities, to train on it, to demonstrate products, to demonstrate equipment. We're with Sean Hagen right now, who is, I guess, the CEO of Black Hagen Design, who is here as, I don't want to say tenant, but how would you describe your relationship?
We're a consultant and
Okay.
a partner with T-Brick.
With T-Brick.
So with the T-Brick side of CAMLS, innovation also comes from outside, not just within USF. So manufacturers come here to have T-Brick support them in the design, development, and testing of new devices.
What is it specifically that your company does that you are working here with?
So we're a consultant for most of the top 50 medical device manufacturers, and we partner with T-Brick in order to bring in the simulation aspect and also to bring in the opportunity to test all the designs that we're helping to develop. So they do both the design and the testing here, and we partner with them to bring in the commercialization aspect of it.
So you watch me. Do you think I have a future in?
We need a little more practice.
Yeah,
I saw him over there. I saw him over there laughing.
Everyone was laughing. I was laughing.
Where is your company located?
So we're in Dunedin.
Oh,
So
okay,
over
you're
at
here.
Pinellas County,
Local
yep.
company. That's good.
And we have a workstation or office here because we're here so often. Since T-Brick was up and running April 1st around there, we've completed 4 projects and are starting off 2 more this week actually. So we come through here a lot. We bring clients here, they also bring in clients, and we come in to help commercialize the design side of it, the engineering side.
Wouldn't it make sense to move your office downtown, the whole company?
Well, we have an office here on this
I
floor.
mean, no, outside office, a building.
He's trying to route Dunedin right now.
Get us out of Pinellas. Huh?
Oh, you know, it's all fair in love and war.
Hard to compete with the beach.
But
That's true.
But
yeah.
there is that potential there with people coming here like yourself. Say you were coming from Atlanta, Georgia, or someplace like that, and had a company there. These people here might look around and say, you know, it makes more sense to have our company here than it does up in Atlanta.
A lot of medical device manufacturers are in Midwest, Boston area, and you'd be surprised in February how they'll fly down 12 people for a meeting instead of 2 people up there.
Well, when Dr. Hart and I went to Israel, that was one of the reasons, was to talk to Symbiotics and Philips, who have a big presence here, about establishing a footprint in the Tampa Bay area. I mean, that's it's a natural one. As this facility grows, I think there's more that will happen.
Well, let's hope so, for sure.
We'll be back. Sean, thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank
Yeah,
Yes,
I'll be there for
indeed.
your ribbon cutting when you move the company here. Stay with us. Jack and I are going to close this out, and we'll see you in a bit. Jack, we're back. That was fascinating.
This has been such a learning experience here at CAMLS, and again, for me, going past just the single dynamic of the innovation of the simulation machines and everything, and the two-dimensional thing, then going to the three-dimensional thing, and the fact that all of the innovation is going on here, and it's a two-level thing.
Well, and you know, it's more than just about room nights in hotels. And
Yeah.
It's more than just about training docs. I mean, you're creating potentially an entire economy based around CAMLS, from the spin out of the products like we just saw to some of the other things that are taking place here. It's
Enormous
really,
for USF and for the city of Tampa.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the city of Tampa, since the last time we got together, we have become tremendously internationally exposed and growing. With, first of all, the airline to Panama. That's going to be huge.
Yeah, Jack, it's been a good couple months, and that announcement of Copa Airlines establishing flights 4 times a week was 2.5 years in the making. My first month as mayor, we jumped on a plane and went down there and made the pitch, and they looked at us like we were Martians and told us in no uncertain terms that Tampa wasn't even on their radar. But thanks to the hard work of Joe Lopano and his staff, they were aggressive about going after it. They produced the numbers that showed it would make sense. And so that announcement gives us an opportunity to reach that Central and South American market like we never have before.
And Edelweiss, which had been at Orlando, moved over here, found their business increased dramatically, doubling the number of flights that they're doing. And before we run out of time, I've got to get to Bollywood coming to Tampa. That's going to give us great international exposure.
They estimate 800 million viewers as a result of that. Most Americans aren't familiar with the Indian film industry, and it is huge. It's bigger than Hollywood. We have a big Indian community here. They put together a great package. It's the first time it's ever been held in the United States. Tampa will be the location for it. It's going to be a big, big deal for us. Not on the scale of the RNC, but certainly Super Bowl size event for us. And we couldn't be more excited.
And the fact that we beat Dubai, Abu Dhabi, I think, and London in the competition. You know, you go for a Super Bowl, you try to beat out a couple of American cities, but to beat international cities like that is just, that's dramatic.
Well, it all builds on each other. I mean, the success we had hosting Super Bowls led to the RNC.
Yep.
I mean, the amazing job this city did during the RNC led to the Bollywood awards. So it's, you know, we're pushing that rock up the hill every day, but it's getting easier and easier.
Oh, my. And on the international scene now, that is very dramatic. That's unbelievable.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for being with us for another Mayor's Hour, Jack. Thank you. We learned a lot today. We saw some really cool things. Big economic engine for Tampa, and particularly downtown Tampa. We appreciate USF believing in downtown. Go Bulls.
Yes, indeed.